cousins. This is Lethabo.
And this is Mokgadi.
And you're listening to
What My Cousin Said.
First of all, cuz.
Yay.
Congratulations to us.
Right?
I think
so
this is
excited that we're doing this.
a little toasty.
Clink,
So
clink.
excited
Clink, clink.
about what we're doing.
I'm gonna keep it here.
Okay. So, first of all, guys, how do we say this? How do we actually know each other?
I think that's a good place to start, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I think it's actually quite simple to us, that is, right?
Yeah.
So it all started with two people who, I don't know when, we should probably find out.
Yeah.
Met and they got married.
Almost
right?
70 years ago. Okay, that's a bit.
No, it can't be 70. They're like 70, I think.
Yeah.
So probably 40?
Yeah,
40 years
40
maybe,
years
like
ago.
about 40 years ago. So it was my grandmother's brother.
Yes.
Right? My maternal grandmother's brother. And your maternal...
So my grandmother's sister.
Yes, so your grandmother's sister.
Yeah.
And then they both met like 30-something years ago.
Uh-huh.
They got married. And that's pretty much how we related.
Yeah, we've been close since then.
Literally.
Basically.
So yeah, we've been obviously cousins since then. So a lot of people think, we're blood related. We're not actually. But yeah, I think we were just around each other like a lot growing up. So I think there's that.
I think there's so many aspects to so many activities, schools that we've attended together. So that also ties into how close we are. Like primary school.
Yeah.
Tennis. Like our aunt always taking us on trips, maybe errands, errand runs, those things. I think that contributed to how close we are.
Yeah. So maybe also where we're from,
Yeah. Also the campaign.
Yeah, the campaign. So we're from Peggy, that's in Pretoria West, Pretoria, obviously. So born and bred there. I think, like pretty much most of my life has been there too. Yeah.
Also the fact that we're both Libras.
Yeah, so both Libras. So by the time this drops, it'll be Libra season.
Yeah.
We found that was fitting. So that's that. Yeah.
So
I'm thinking then, something that would be like really great is maybe I ask, what do you feel like is your favorite childhood memory that we share? We've shared, yeah.
There's so many because I think you were. I can't say I saw you every day, but you were just in my life somehow. And I think the most important one was, the transition I had from Loreto to Wahasrand. And you were the first person
That's our primary school.
Yes, that's our primary school, and you were the first person that I met. Well, obviously because I came to the school. And we were in the same transport. Actually, the very same person who is the reason why we know each other transported us to school as well. So it's just so crazy. Like, you were there my first day and I felt calm. So I think, given my relationship with you before, I think seeing you every day at school made my life easier. Because I think transitioning from a new school or like an old school, just that whole process is not easy. So I think that is my favorite childhood memory of us and just this feeling of safety. And for you, what would you say?
My favorite childhood memory, I think, like you just said, there's been many. There's been many just because obviously we've been in each other's lives since.
Yeah.
But I think what I remember, this was on multiple occasions, but like the walks that we used to take,
100%.
So to anybody that doesn't know, Atteridgeville, like I said, it's in the west of Pretoria. It's actually not like a really large township or anything. Obviously, but it's not large. So you can literally probably walk from one end to the other in like an hour and a half. Like an hour, I think. So we didn't live far from each other. I think we probably lived like 5-10 minute walk from each other. So that's why we used to see each other a lot. And the walks would just look like something like going from me coming from my house to your house, and we're just gonna buy food, or we're just gonna go see somebody else, So I think a lot of that, because of, I think we used to talk so much, and that was like during really important times in our lives. Nirifila deep, you know? And we're probably like 10 years old or whatever, but you know, yeah. So I think for me, those were my favorite memories, just the times that we used to spend actually walking and like just, you know, wherever we're going, yeah.
It's so crazy that you're touching on like how deep it felt. Like I've never felt the need to not be deep with you. Like somehow it's just coming, like it comes naturally. And I think, you know, as you mentioned that, I want to ask you, what do you value most about our relationship as a result of just that bond from the beginning?
What do I value most? My favorite thing is how much context there is, you know. So I find that even like with friendships or anybody else, anything is a lot more difficult when people don't necessarily have the context.
100%.
Right? So I think what I've enjoyed is that thing of like just knowing when I come to you, like I said, when I was like 10 years old and I'm saying this is happening, you already have the context, you already know what my family setup is, all of those stuff. And I didn't have to explain that. You know? So I think at no point in my life have I ever felt like I need to give you that background. So it's just always been really easy to talk to you. Because we could go like weeks without talking and I can just call you and say, listen, this is what's happening, and it doesn't necessarily sound like, oh, but where's that coming from? What could have possibly informed
I can
that,
easily put the context together.
Exactly. So as much as there's like that thing where we obviously still need to always make sure that like we keep getting to know each other with time, but I find that the context is there and it makes it easier. And on your end, what do you feel like makes it?
I think with what you're touching on, it also brings us like to my point about safety. You know, even in primary school I felt safe, but even currently it feels safe to express myself to you. You know, I will be honest is that is not something that comes with every family member. That's something you work on. That's something you make sure that you're deeply rooted in making sure that you understand the next person. And I feel like that's something that you've always provided for me with grace. You know, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in every person, but I think you've always just moved along and grew with me. We grow with each other, and I think that creates the safety, and I think that's one of the main things that I value about our relationship. Yeah,
and I think just to expand on that, I find that not just because, you know, similar family dynamics or whatever, but we've had a lot of getting like very similar setups, you know. For example, you know, we've both got like single parents, you know, and both of us were only children for a long time, you know. So both of us, like my younger sister came when I was 14. Yours were like 8, 10 or something.
I was 8.
You were like 8. So I think so there's just a lot of stuff that we're always just that we always found that quite easy to relate on, you know.
And that believers. I always just want to say this. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But you know, as you're expanding on that, I think besides that, we have a lot of similarities. The way we think also. Like, yes, I can call you and say, do you think I'm wrong? Not that I'm looking for the reassurance that I'm not wrong, but I still feel like you can give me the input that still makes sense because you understand. You understand?
And that comes down to that context. And I think something else that could also just help people just to get to know us a bit better is like right now, right, in this season of your life, what do you feel like priorities wise is like the most important thing to you, or maybe like the top 2, top 3?
That's such a tough question because right now my priority list is literally my everyday life. So now, and I don't want to base it off that only, so it's a bit difficult to say top 3, but I will definitely say my relationship with God comes first, because in the morning you always have to give gratitude. So as my day goes, the first thing I do is that. Secondly is my work, my job, because that's exactly what helps me survive. Just to be like this as a person is my job. And the gym. I think the gym has helped me mentally, but it's also helped me feel confident. So I think there's a certain level of average confidence and confidence. I don't know, like there's there's a difference between the two, and I feel like I've reached a point where I'm not afraid to start afresh. I'm not afraid of doing something different because I feel confident in myself that even within era, I can start again. And I think that comes with the gym and just the way I tie into my day. How I go about my day every day really just has helped me become the person I am.
That consistency.
Yeah. And seeing results. So for me, that whole thing is just important, and I think it just changes so much about your life. You even become happier or more at peace because there's things that you are actually doing every day.
Okay. So like for you, something that you feel like has really helped ground you, like in the season of your life, is routine. Yeah. You feel like routine and just focusing on, you said God, you said work, and you also said gym. Hey? Yeah. And work can be many things. It can be your hobbies, it can be getting to know someone, whatever. I think it's just about what you prioritize, like you're saying. And for you, what would you say? I think for me, I can't really say it's as structured, but it's more of things that are just underlying in how I move, or 100%. Underlying in how I'm operating. I think something that's been really big for me in the last couple of years, but like more so maybe the last year, is vulnerability. That's been like really something big for me that I think I've struggled with my whole life. You know, like I mentioned, for example, that I was raised by a single parent, and I think because of that, sometimes I don't think it's easy as a parent when everything limits away. Like pretty much everybody just is relying on you, and I think sometimes you're not always able to or privileged to be as present in your child's life as you'd like to be versus maybe not even just like two parents, but just versus somebody who doesn't have so much to worry about, and I think because of that, I was raised to be quite independent. 100%. This is something I also relate to. I was raised to be quite independent. So for as long as I can remember, even in the little things, like I was making my own lunch from probably I was like 8-9 years old. I was responsible for waking up in the morning, thinking about what am I gonna wear, what am I gonna whatever. Are my clothes clean? Are my clothes ironed? Whatever. So I think I was responsible for such things. For a very long time, things like I'd come home and sometimes there isn't anybody at home, and I'm responsible enough because I know I need to lock up, make sure that I'm safe, need to whatever. But I used to spend exactly, so it's like I'm not in a gated community, but I knew I was responsible for my own safety. 100%. So I think because of that, it just created this thing where I felt like I was responsible for myself. I was responsible for what my life looks like, and because of that, for a young child, I feel like I took it too seriously, right? And that resulted in hyper independence, right? And I know that they always say that hyper independence is usually a trauma response, and 100%. I think mine was definitely that, because I think we always think about trauma in the sense of this being this huge thing that happened and changed your life forever. But no, sometimes it's the little things that taught you I need to rely on myself, So because of that, just with that background, grew up quite hyper independent, and I think only as I got older, once I felt like the basics are now out of the way. So things like now I knew, okay, sharp, I have a job. I have a car, I have this, I'm able things to pay. You've always wanted. I'm able to pay my bills. Now like the basics are out of the way. Then I felt like, okay, now there's time for me to sit and say, what do I want my life to look like? What are my areas of improvement? And for me, that was vulnerability, 100%. Right? And that's just what I wanted to come down to, that I need to know that I'm not the only one in the world. Like there's people around me, whether platonic, whether be it my husband, but there's people around me who are willing, 100%. To help me. And sometimes it's just a matter of me sticking my hand up and saying, I would like help like this. I would like for somebody to show up for me like this. And just that vulnerability has been so important in how I move in the world, whether be it in the workplace, whether be it, at home, whatever. And it's been, so I think for me, that's been like my huge thing. Like I'm in that season, and I think I'm gonna do it long enough to make sure, but it's not just the season. It doesn't just pass. So yeah.
As you're saying that, like I'm cringing because I realize that is something that I struggled with, and I think I'm still in the process of learning how to deal with being vulnerable, because I've realized that with that comes people don't receive it the same, and I think the trauma of being hyper independent also comes from that, because you're not able to know when to say something, because you're always doing something with yourself, alone, you're so isolated. Who do you speak to about this? And it's also not something that's normalized. Like, go high, like, I mean, yes, now you can speak
your bomb
about
is bombing. I should throw that in. It's bombing. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
But I just feel like also there's a lot that we say maybe have improved in black households right now. But I'll be honest, there's nothing to talk about. What are we discussing? So now being vulnerable is just something that we are trying our best and learning every day, because you realize that, hey, actually this hurt my feelings.
And things need to be addressed, because there's growth from that.
Yes.
There's growth,
So
much.
I think for me, those are the things, and I'm happy that you mentioned that vulnerability is one of them. So as you're saying, what would you say is your proudest moment? From the things that you prioritize, how you...
It's so funny how it's so easy for me to tell you what I need to develop, what I need to whatever, but the moment you ask me what I'm proud of,
tough questions.
I'm not. I'm not good at taking time to be proud. Okay, I think something that's worthy of saying. I feel like I have been, whether it was from trauma or what, but I'm proud of how I was able to be intentional about my life.
100%.
I'm really proud of that, because I think there's times when it felt like the odds were against me. Like where it literally just looked like, for you, things like this don't happen for people like you.
It's rare.
Things like this, I've seen the path, I've seen other people do it, but it doesn't look, it looks a lot more linear than it possibly could for you. And how do you get there, So I think I'm proud of the times that I was able to sit down and say, okay, I know this is where I want to be. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, but whether it means I'm going to sit up all night, sit on Google or watch podcasts or watch whatever, I'm going to be intentional and I'm going to fetch my life, And of course, there's always, you always want what the next phase is, but I can say for a fact that where I am right now in my life, I've been intentional about
Period.
it. And that's something that I'm proud of that.
I can attest to that, because I've seen you through every season. Well, I'm still going to see you through. But like for me, I feel like you've been one of my biggest inspirations, and that's very important. Also the fact that we're living in delusion. And I feel like manifestations and just making sure that you live up to your intention for yourself is important. And I think you have set that example for me, and that's very important to me. I feel like that's also what made this podcast come together, is that we can have so much conversation, or we can it just feels easier to talk about it and make it happen with you. So I think you're a big inspiration to me, and I really always want to applaud you for that, because it plays, and I don't want to get emotional or anything, but it's very, there's no one I want to see win more than you. Well, of course I want to see everyone win. But I always want to see you win. And I think like you're saying that it was a point where you felt like it wasn't real. Girl, I know that.
Like you felt delusional.
What's
What's my plan? Who have I seen? get one to do, what's my plan exactly? Yeah. No, and on your end, what do you feel like you're most proud of?
Like, it's a really tough question to answer because I think the way I operate sometimes is not to sometimes take a step back and acknowledge the process and give thanks, you know. So I think that's also something that I'm trying to channel into my life, be more grateful, so that I'm able to live in the moment and bask into what's happening, so that I don't bypass the moment. But I think part of my healing journey, I'm proud of being able to set boundaries. That's been very important because with people like us who are overly empathetic, anything happens. It's like, it's literally so hard to say no because you always want to give. You always want to be there.
Yeah, people get away with a lot.
Yeah.
With a lot. Yeah.
But then you empty your cup and then you're not able to give more anymore. And I got to that point and I was just so uncomfortable and sad because I can't call them. I can't call them. I'm there for them.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, oh my God, like I'm in a difficult situation. I'm busy like calling one person or just you. Sometimes that's not possible. Like you're not an ambulance. I can't always call you, Mokgadi. Obviously. You know? So for me, I think the fact that I've been able to set my boundaries and be okay with it and not feel bad.
Yeah.
That's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah. And that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Because
it informs so much, you know.
And it ties into you prioritizing yourself.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm saying that with all of that, keeping the noise, like I felt like like there's just so much noise.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from, but there's noise. And when I finally found my voice, I think it's when I started setting my boundaries. So I think I feel like more of myself because I can safely say no.
Yeah, you take the time to say, is this what I want?
Yeah.
If it's not what I want, I need to be able to
say and it's okay. There's nothing wrong. You should be able to say no because if you say no, at least then I know. I'm not losing my friend because I said no. I'm not losing anybody because I don't agree.
Yeah. I'm also proud of that we decided to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so from your end, why do you feel like we had to do this? Why did you feel like you wanted to start a podcast?
So
with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make it about me and then explain why it makes sense to do it with you. So I think as a child, I've always wanted to hear myself. So what I mean by that is that not hear myself and sound delusional, but like hear myself in the way that I feel like I can relate to my own feelings. And I feel like it takes a while to actually hear your feelings and sit with your feelings and say, hey, you're actually onto something. I think I've always believed other people's feelings and put mine last.
Yeah.
And I think being able to do that is the healing journey that I'm on. And so as a result, I thought as part of my healing journey, I can do it with someone I feel safe with, that I trust. And also, we can have these lengthy conversations at Starbucks. And then I'm just like, wait, you've been here for 2 hours. It's so funny. Like, and I was like, you know what? I think that she's the best person to do this with. It feels easier, safer, and I'm sure we can always do it with our friends, you know, like, but I think just working together too, for me, whatever it grows into, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
valid. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
From my end, to be honest, it's honestly just been a matter of just doing something new. You know, I think sometimes you just get so busy within the rat race and whatever that I don't always feel like I make enough time to do stuff that I like or of interest. You know, whether that's something creative or just just trying something different. So I think for me it's that. As somebody who's like often closed off and doesn't always speak her mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I don't always speak my mind on a large platform.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite low key. I barely exist on the socials, just stuff like that. I just felt like let me just do something that's whether it goes good or not, But I just thought, let me just do something for the sake of doing it because. And I think you said this earlier, but sometimes you just need to do something well, see something work out, see yourself be consistent in something, and it just makes you want to try out other stuff. So for me, it's just a matter of that, And what I'm also thinking, just to maybe let people now know, since I think they've gotten like a good enough picture of who we are, how we relate, whatever. It's just what they can expect from this,
100%.
And you can weigh in here too.
Yeah.
But we're too young, 27, almost 28. Am I? I am.
Yeah.
You're almost 27.
Yeah.
So we're in our late 20s, So what you can pretty much expect is us just talking through some of the things that have taken place either when we were younger or just us navigating our 20s, just literally finding out what the world has in store for us. And just some of those have been so relatable that it just feels like, wow, it would have actually been so nice when I was like 21, 22, when I'm thinking I'm the only one that's going through this thing, to just literally search on YouTube how to navigate feeling like the poor friend, just things like that. How to navigate feeling like the poor friend. Is it really own race or own pace, or am I a failure? What's wrong with me? Why are certain things happening for me? Why?
When is it my turn?
Literally, just things like that. And what really matters? Am I on the right path when it doesn't always feel like there's somebody else that I can talk to that's close to me? And I think I've just always wanted a space like that. It's always felt like sometimes it would be nice just to converse with other girlies, I just want to talk on like a sister level. And for me, I think that's what people can expect, at least for me, that I'm just gonna shed light on what that has looked like for me. Just also navigating corporate, what that looks like for like a young black girl.
100%.
And also just seeing, being newly married. Just those kinds of stuff. So I think that's what people can expect from us.
I think also just a bit of like just growth. I think that's one of the biggest things that we've both went through. And I think also like that ties into where we're from, what that means for you, how that looks like. Wanena wako Peli, just because you're from Peli, you have to be a certain way, you can't do this, a lot of classism that we've experienced. And I think a lot of just happiness. Being honest about what it's like to navigate happiness in your 20s. It's not easy. I feel like it just comes with so much because life has so many layers. So I think that as well.
Covering all of those.
Just family dynamics, bro. Just truth and honesty, honestly. That's what I think they can expect from the show.
So I think obviously it's our first one. We don't want to make it too long. So we just thought, let's do a little get to know us situation. And just to get you thinking, what we think like. If there's anything that you'd also obviously like to reach out, if there's anything that like us to touch on, let's just have space for that as well. So I'm super excited. My drink is like empty.
But we can still do a little
fling,
cheers,
eye contact.
And also, I think, just catch us on the next episode. But till then,
like, subscribe, and what's the other
comment,
one? And comment.
And email us on info@wmcspodcast.co.za.
We have an Instagram as well. What's the handle?
It's WMCS pod.
So follow. Right?
Follow guys. Do the whole thing.
I don't know when they're watching this or if they're listening, but we're pointing if you're listening.
You better subscribe,
so follow, interact with us. Let us know what you'd like to hear. And
Cheers.